What's going on, Summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides video. I'm Kangas, and today I'm going over every single ability for Gwen, the next champion coming to League of Legends. Just a quick disclaimer though before we get started, Gwen's abilities could get changed or tweaked a bit before she's released, so don't hold us to all of this info, it's just what we know so far. Luckily for us though, Riot usually doesn't make massive changes this late into a champion's development, so let's start by going over what we know about Gwen right now before she's released on patch 11.8. As always, let's start things off with her passive. Gwen's passive ability is called 1000 Cuts, and it makes her basic attack deal bonus on-hit magic damage based on a percentage of her health. These attacks will also heal her for some of the damage dealt. The way Riot designed this passive is really important to note, since it sets the tone for what kind of champion Gwen will be. The bonus damage, health scaling, and sustain provide a lot for her kit, and more importantly, this passive makes auto-attacking a high priority for her. But now let's get into the fun part. Gwen's Q ability is called Snip Snip. When activated, Gwen quickly snips her scissors between 2 and 6 times, dealing magic damage in a cone. At a minimum, the ability will always snip 2 times. For every auto attack you land on an enemy beforehand, you'll increase the amount of snips done, up to a cap of 6. It's important to note that the time it takes for 2 snips and 6 snips to go off is almost identical. Also, enemies in the center of your snip will take true damage, and the ability does additional bonus magic damage from her passive. Gwen's Q is a pretty cool ability, perfect for weaving between auto attacks and movement. And I also think it's really cool that a fully charged 6-snip Q is about the same speed as an uncharged Q, which means that you'll rarely use this ability without auto attacking first. Now moving on to her most controversial ability, Gwen's W is called Hollowed Mist. Gwen creates Hollowed Mist, surrounding herself for 5 seconds and gaining some armor and magic resist when in it. Enemies outside of the mist cannot target Gwen, and any ability used will go straight through her. If you thought that wasn't enough, this ability will reposition itself the first time Gwen tries to leave it, recentering the mist around her again. If she tries to leave it a second time, the mist will simply disappear. This Hallowed Mist is definitely stronger than Senna and Viego's Mist. While her W doesn't totally block projectiles like Yasuo's Wind Wall, the ability is great as a selfish get-out-of-jail-free card. Like, imagine using your W to dodge an incoming Ashe ult only to have it hit the Annie that's sitting right behind you. I'm just glad that this isn't some CC immortality field like it appeared to be in the trailer. As long as you can get inside of the mist, you'll still be able to brawl it out with Gwen, which makes it seem more like a Xin Zhao ultimate. Next up is Gwen's E, Skip and Splash. Gwen dashes a short distance and empowers her next attack, increasing the range, speed, and on-hit magic damage for 4 seconds. If you attack an enemy during this time, you refund 50% of the ability's cooldown. This might be Gwen's simplest ability, and it's a breath of fresh air compared to her W. I really like how much synergy Gwen's kit has with her auto attacks. An ability that increases your attack range can be really oppressive, so I'm excited to see how the best players use this one in-game. And last but not least is Gwen's ultimate, Needlework. The most important part about this ultimate is that you can cast it 3 times, but you need to hit an enemy within 8 seconds in order to unlock each cast. Every cast fires needles in a line that deal magic damage, slow enemies, and applies Gwen's passive bonus magic damage. The first cast will fire 1 needle, the second cast fires 3 needles, and the third cast will fire 5 needles. If you land all of these on one target, you'll hit them with a total of 9 needles, which means 9 instances of bonus magic damage from your passive. It's important to note that any attack or ability will allow you to cast the next part of your ultimate. You don't need to land your first needle to throw the next 3. As long as you're able to hit an enemy with anything, you can throw out the next part of the cast. This looks like it'll synergize really well with the rest of Gwen's kit. Champions that auto attack a lot don't want an ultimate that stops the flow of their movement. And the more I look at it, the more this ability reminds me of Aurelia's old ultimate before her rework. So now that we've seen her abilities, what do our challenger coaches think of Gwen? Well, when I was chatting with them, they said it's still too early to tell, but we got some solid first impressions. First things first, champions that rely on weaving in auto attacks in between their abilities will always be a bit harder to play for low elo players. You need to squeeze out as much damage as possible from your kit, and that means managing your Q stacks, your E cooldown, and your ult in order to beat your opponents. Compare that to somebody like Darius who just presses Ghost and runs at you. With a high skill ceiling in mind, I think Gwen's W will be less problematic than we initially thought. It definitely doesn't feel as broken now that we know that you can still just walk inside the field and damage Gwen. Still, the ability does reposition itself once, and I think the best Gwen players will know exactly how to move their mist to avoid important abilities. One thing to note is that Gwen is untargetable in her mist, which means ranged champions can't do anything to her unless they move inside of the field. This gives Gwen a 5-second window to totally wail on those annoying Vayne and Quinn players in the top lane. Overall, we're super excited about Gwen and what she's bringing to the Rift, but let us know in the comments what you think about her, and also feel free to sub to the channel if you want to catch her guide once she's finally released. Thanks for watching, everybody, and as always, best of luck on the Rift. Stay hydrated, and I'll see you next time.